Okay, sir. Now, today we're going to have a lesson in building a bean fence for your pole beans. So, first of all, you've tilled your garden, you've disked it. Well, first of all, you plowed it if that's what you're going to do. Now, Joe Salden does not believe in plowing a garden. He says you only disc a garden because you don't keep on turning up soil and getting rid of your topsoil that way. Joe Salzman wrote a book. He's a farmer out in Swope, which is about 10 or 20 miles from here. He is a very much of a conservative farmer. He will not farm the traditional way. He will put his cows out on the grass and move them out of one spot to another. And the chickens too. He will have everything organic. Whether he calls it organic or not, I don't know. But he is a really an impressive farmer when it comes to having everything uh, like non-traditional. I like things non-traditional, but sometimes you want to do things a little quickly. But anyways, however you choose to plant your beans, maybe you want to sod plant your beans or plant them in the mulch. I have done that kind of thing, plant things right in the mulch. But one year I planted corn in the mulch. Well, the ground was cold before I planted it. When I put the mulch on top of the ground, it was still cold. So then when I put the seeds down under the mulch, maybe I actually put them in the ground. I don't remember. I don't think I did. Now, potatoes works really well to plant just under the mulch. Now, the corn was too cold. It could not get sunshine to warm up the soil or the seed, and it rotted away. It didn't work. Maybe if you had warm soil when you put the mulch on and then plant the seed in the mulch, maybe the corn would grow. I don't know. But beans do well in mulch. So anyway, so you have your row of beans. Now, each morning, let's say you have 6 rows of beans. Each morning, get up about 6 in the morning before it gets too hot, or you're going to be sweating up a storm and out of breath when you're digging this hole for a post. So you have 6 days to plant your post. You plant one each morning. You use your post hole digger, and you dig your hole, and then you set your pole in there, and then you use your tamper and tamp around the pole in the hole as you fill in dirt, and you pack it really tight. You really pack that there dirt tight with your tamper, and then after you have filled your hole, you look to see if you have any more dirt left over. According to the moon sign, you may not believe this, but you may have dirt left, or you may be lacking dirt. Even after you have put your pole in the hole, you could be lacking dirt. Uh, that's just the way nature works. Do not ask me to explain this because I cannot do it. I'm not a scientist. But you know how it works when you dig holes and fill the hole up. Sometimes you have too much dirt, sometimes you have not enough. That is because of the moon. Anyway, so now you have planted your pole. The next day, you're going to plant another pole at the other end. Now, you're going to string a wire um, up the top of the pole to the other pole. Now, first you want to do it on top and then on the bottom. You're going to tie it around the pole, staple it, and go to the other pole and do the same thing. And these posts should be about 7 feet tall because you're going to have a foot of it in the ground, and you want your bean fence to be about 5 or 6 feet tall because it's going to hang down a little bit after the beans grow on it, and you'll be well able to pick the beans from the top of it. um, if not, if you're shorter, then get a taller person to pick the tall beans. That's just all there is to it. uh, but you know, some people don't like picking beans at all, and they'll designate that to somebody else. You know, I can identify with that pretty much. But anyway, I'm not afraid to pick beans if it's necessary. But anyway, so then you have put your wire on top. Now you're going to put your wire along the bottom, about a foot high off of the ground. On the top one, you come down about 4 to 6 inches. The bottom one you put on. Now, because you have put the bottom one on there, it's not going to do a whole lot towards um, um, loosening the top wire, but it will do some. If you had put it on the bottom first and then the top, you would have possibly loosened your bottom wire. That would not be good. But because you put the top one on first and then the bottom one can stay pretty tight that way. Now you've loosened the top one a little bit, but that doesn't matter, and I'll explain to you why that is. Because now you're going to use a guy wire to tighten it up. Now you say, what's a guy wire? A guy wire is like you tie another wire from the top of your pole and tie it to a stake that you drove in the ground down at an angle where the angle is so that you drove it in the ground at an angle towards the pole, and the top of your stake sticks out the other way. Now you can take a wire and go from your pole to your guide stake. Now it's helpful if you have an iron stake with a hole in it that you can tie that there wire to. Otherwise, you're going to have to somehow tie it around your wooden stake, if that's what you got, and then staple it to it with fence staples. That is, of course, you don't use a hand stapler that you would use for paper. That would never work. Now, when you did this, you did it double. You had a double wire. Now you've got 2 wires going up and down, and then you're going to take a flat stick about a foot long and about yay so wide, and anywhere from 4 to 6 inches wide. About 5 inches is really good. You need it wide because a small one would take you too long. Well, then you stick that between the 2 wires and you start rolling it. And the more you roll it, the tighter it gets. And that is why that you need to have the bottom wire as tight as possible to start with. And that's why you first put your wire up on top of the poles and not on the bottom. So when you tighten this here, it'll tighten up the top wire. And of course, the bottom wire was already tight. So you're not worried about that now. But if you had put the bottom wire on first and then the top wire, now you'd be tightening up the top wire, and it'd be hard for you to get the bottom wire tight, and you'd have somewhat of a situation that would be, for the rest of the summer, you'd be sorry that you did that. Just trust me on that. This is according to my memory. It's been a long time since I've done it. I think I'm telling you the truth about this. The whole truth and nothing but the truth. That's what I think I'm telling you. But Anyhow, so now that you have done that to all 6 rows, that took you, I guess, 7 days to do that. I mean, it may take longer if you want, but according to the fact that you had to plant 1 post a day and you couldn't put up any wire the first day, um, it might make a difference and it might not, but at least it took you at least 6 days to do it all, and probably 7 or 8 by the time it was all said and done. Now, you've got that done. Now you need your runner strings for your beans. So now, this is going to take you a while, and you may have wanted to roll up your string before you ever even started to plant your posts, or even before. You could have done it in the winter while you were waiting for the ground to warm up to plant your beans. Now, of course, you have soaked your beans and you have planted them in the ground, and you could even do that after that you have put your posts up. That would actually give you a straighter line to put your beans in. Now, when you want to roll up your string, you're going to go to a farmer and ask him for baler twine, but you got to find somebody that uses square bales and not round bales, because the round bales, those strings rot and they get lost. The square bales, they save those strings usually. Some farmers don't, but many farmers will have scads of those strings around for the future. Future of what? Who knows? Nobody knows. There's always use for strings, you know? Sometimes farmers have a whole truckload of strings that they'll take to the dump because they finally got tired of having them around. But so you can go and ask him for a bunch of string. Get yourself several gunny sacks full of strings. If you have too many, then you can still throw them away later, but it's better to have plenty, or else you have to go back and get more. And then you might be embarrassed that you had to go back to get more because you were wrong in how many you needed. You guessed wrong. Not that that's the end of the world, of course. But anyway, so now you're going to sit on a chair and pull these strings out one by one. And you're going to cut the string if it's not already cut. And then you're going to tie it into a knot end for end. Take a knot, take a string and tie it end for end. In other words, the 2 ends of the string, you tie them in a knot, if you know what I mean. I hope you know how to tie a knot. If you don't, ask me. So anyway, if I'd had a string with me right here, I'd demonstrate, but I don't. But so you take these strings and you have yourself a lot of string that you tied together like that, and you start rolling them on a board. And again, you want a board that's pretty wide, maybe 4 to 5 inches wide. And you tie them on this board. Because if you have a little narrow stick that you tie them on, you're going to be rolling forever, it seems like. But you take and tie it to the board, and then you roll it. You roll it on the board until you have a pretty reasonable amount of string on your board. It makes it difficult if you get too much on there. But have about, I would say, 3 inches of string, thickness of string on your board. All right. So now you're going to take that board of string. You go out to your bean row. You're going to tie it, preferably to your post at the bottom. All right. That's where you're starting at. Now you're going to go and wrap it around the bottom wire a time or two. Now you're going to go up top and do the same thing. Wrap it around that a time or two, and then wrap it around the post, come back to the wire, and wrap it around again a time or two. Now you're ready to roll. You're going to go down and up, and down and up, and down and up, and down and up. And you want to make sure that it's not too loose, but don't want to make it too tight either, or it will bring your wires together too closely. String can do that. You think you got your wires tight, but they're not that tight because a lot of string up and down can eventually make this wires in the middle of your row um, come together. And by the way, if your bean row is more than 20 feet long, you might want to consider that every 20 feet you should have a post, or every 30 feet. Um, you don't want your bean posts to be too far apart. Of course, now if you have a long row and you had 6 rows, now you're going to have to plant more posts. So it's going to take you more days to get this done. Um, so anyway, you continue to go up and down until you get to the other end, and then you wrap it around your wires and your posts again like you did at the beginning. Now you have a nice um, looking fence made of string. Now you just hope that the deer won't jump through there and tear it all down. But anyway, so now as the beans begin to grow, you want to help them along to get started to climb those strings. And once in a while, you might have to help them again when they get like halfway up and they want to lean over and curl over down to the ground. You may have to help it, but once that bean is growing, it'll stay. Now, come fall, um, you're going to have a mess on your hands to cut all this strings down. So the best thing to do is cut them all off the best you can and not worry about it too much. And put it in the gunny sack that you brought them in to start with, if you can. Otherwise, put them in a big box or something. Haul them off to the dump or burn them or whatever. And then take the wires off, roll that up the best you can, and throw it away too, because it's going to be a lot of trouble to try to save it over winter and get it out and reuse it. It'll already have lost some of its strength anyway. So just throw it on the dump too. And then when you have picked your beans, you're going to have a lovely crop of beans. And those are going to be so good to eat. And I had no idea that it would take me almost 18 minutes to tell you how to build a bean fence. So, anyhow, thanks for listening. I hope you enjoy your project. I enjoyed it for myself when I was doing it, but now that I'm older, there's more things that interest me, and I'm really not up to building bean fences that much anymore. I probably won't ever do that again. I'll just do other things that are more fun. But when I was building fences, it was a challenge, and I taught myself pretty much how to do it, and I really enjoyed it. I guess that was one of the reasons I enjoyed it, because I was teaching myself as I went along how to do it. I like teaching myself how to do stuff.